Welcome to Yankee Stadium.
Just when they thought I was out, they pull me back in.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. It is trade deadline day. And I've got a list of transactions on the right here that we can talk about as the day progresses. We are now 30 minutes from the actual trade cutoff. So if there's going to be news, it'll happen by 6 o'clock. Sometimes trades trickle in a few minutes after. I remember when Cecil Fielder got traded back in 1996. The deadline came and went, and then they announced Fielder like 10 minutes later. So Jordan Montgomery was the same way. That happened about maybe 10 minutes after the deadline. We got news on that, and that Montgomery was getting traded for Harrison Bader. But we are quickly approaching. We've got some news today. Garrett Cole scratched with general body fatigue. And to me, I'm not super worried about this. I thought this might happen, honestly, and watching him pitch the last few times out, he looked like he was sweating a lot. He looked like he wasn't in the best shape. And that's because he had to miss most of spring training, and then he came back during the hottest portion of the month. So he's basically pitching in midseason, but he's not in midseason form. This is the toughest part of the year to be a pitcher. And, it does not surprise me that he needs like an extra, basically a skipped start is what it sounds like. So Will Warren will get the start tonight. I'm going to pull up his stats on the screen. They're not great. They're not going to blow the doors off, but 5-5, 6.11 ERA in 20 games started. He does have more than a strikeout per inning, 115 strikeouts in 95 2/3 innings. If we go back and look at his year last year, he had a very good year. Last year, he was 10-4 with a 3.35 ERA and pitched very well at AAA. He was 7-4 with a 3.61. Now, he's going to be facing a damn good lineup tonight in the Phillies, and we know that the ball flies out of that ballpark. We saw it last night. So he's going to have to keep the ball on the ground or miss some bats, but it is not going to be easy. Pamela Davis says we still need a closer, and you are not wrong. We are now 28 minutes from the deadline, and our big pickup today was Mark Leiter Jr., who we'll talk about in a second. There's some names that the Yankees had talked about that are now off the board. The Royals got Tanner Scott. No, sorry. The Padres got Tanner Scott, and the Royals got Urseg. So the Padres had to trade their number 2, 4, 5, and 24 prospects to the Marlins. So that basically would have been Spencer Jones, Roderick Arias, Everson Pereira, and I don't know who number 29 is. But that's basically what it would have cost us. So no thanks. My friend Brett basically said that it reminded him of an OOTP baseball sim where you just keep adding prospects to a trade until the computer says yes. As far as Mark Leiter, I kind of like this deal. The Yankees traded two decent prospects, Ben Cowles and Double-A infielder Ben Cowles and Jack Neely, the 6'8" right-hander who is in AAA, has been crushing it for the Yankees in AAA. There was some talk that Neely could get called up. They're both Rule 5 eligible. So if the Yankees hadn't planned on them being in the major leagues next season, it made sense to trade them now. So they went ahead and made that deal. Anyway, Mark Leiter is a swing and a miss guy. Throws a sinker, throws a splitter, curveball, sweeper, cutter. He gets a ton of whiffs, 98th percentile in both strikeout percentage and in whiff percentage this year. He's also in the 84th percentile, you see, in ground ball percentage. So he keeps the ball on the ground. He has 53 strikeouts in 36 1/3 innings. ERA is a little bit higher than you'd like, 4.21. So he's going to have to bring that down a little bit. But this strikes me as something that the Yankees will unlock this guy a little bit. This is from Max Goodman. Mark Leiter's splitter this year. Hitters have an .053 batting average. They're 3 for 57 with no extra base hits, 39 strikeouts, and a 62.7 whiff rate. So you want swing and miss stuff? There it is. There it is. As Michael Cardigan says, Leiter's Savant has a lot of red. Red is good. And then we've got 37% whiff rate. So some much needed swing and miss at the back of the bullpen. And I'm excited for that. Yanks Lover says, do you think Mark can get with Matt Blake and become dominant? I mean, it's possible. I don't think they would have traded for him unless they thought they could do something with him. When you got that kind of savant page, you've got some talent. Now it's on the Yankees to help him maximize that talent. But Frank is using the old school stats here. Frank says, Mark Leiter is 8-21 with a 4.53. Please. And that's just a bit outside. You're looking at the wrong numbers, man.
Just a bit outside.
You got to look at a guy's progression. You got to look at beyond, the overall stats, because that can be dictated a lot of times by bad luck and how he's used. You got to look at the pitches themselves. I mean, his split finger is nasty. Nasty. This might be one of those situations where the Yankees say, hey, forget about your cutter, forget about your sweeper, forget about your curveball. Throw sinker and throw splitter, and throw them a lot. Basically 50-50. Get two pitches that look exactly the same and make hitters figure it out. Throw them out of the same spot, the same tunnel. So you can't look at his career stats. He was 2-7 in 2022 with a 3.99 ERA, but he's always had more strikeouts than innings pitched. So he's good at getting guys to miss, which is important. So Yankees need that. I'm confident in this move. Now, there's still a few guys out there that we can talk about. Obviously, Jack Flaherty's a name that has been mentioned. If you saw the haul that the Astros got for Kikuchi, I mean, they got a ton. And Flaherty's better than Kikuchi this year. Now, he's a rental, but I think it's going to cost you one of Spencer Jones or Jason Dominguez. I really do. Plus, maybe something else. It's going to be pricey. It's going to hurt. It's going to sting because this guy's a difference maker. He's pitching like an ace right now. He's a guy who could help you win the World Series. You get to the playoffs and you run Luis Gil, Garrett Cole, Jack Flaherty, Carlos Rodon, all pitching well. You're going to the World Series. I'm sorry, you're going to the World Series with that rotation. You get any offense at all. That's a dominant rotation. I think the Yankees are really, really in for Flaherty, and that's probably why they didn't overpay to get Tanner Scott. They decided, we're going to get Mark Leiter Jr. to solidify the bullpen a little bit. Still a chance they could get Pete Fairbanks. Still a chance they could get Yandy Diaz. And one of the things about Yandy Diaz is that, he plays third base and first base, but you got Ben Rice at first base, so you'd have to play him at third base. And you just put Jazz Chisholm at third base. Now, Jazz can also play second. So if you do that, there goes Glaber. So there's a lot of potential dominoes that could fall in a lot of different directions. There's a lot of different ways this could play out. And it's going to, I think a lot of it's going to depend on who ends up with Jack Flaherty. What prospects have to be moved. Right? So, we'll see. We'll see. I think that's the Yankees' number one priority, getting another big-time pitcher. So, we are now 22 minutes from the deadline, and we've all got that cardiac clay thing happening right now. All right, so let me go ahead and give a refresh on the Twitter feed, the old Twitter feed, and see what's new. So, Pittsburgh Pirates are finalizing a deal to acquire former Yankee and utility man Isaiah Kiner-Falefa from the Toronto Blue Jays. Sources tell Jeff Passan. And if you want to take a look at the Yankees lineup tonight, we can go ahead and do that because we do have some guys in the lineup that, have been rumored in trades. Gleyber Torres, right there. Batting 6th at second base. Jazz Chisholm batting 5th at third base. Alex Verdugo at the top of the lineup. I really want Verdugo to be for real right now. When he was playing well for the first, I'd say, 6 weeks of the season, it made the Yankees so much better because he was that contact bat that would pick up doubles, that would clear the bases once in a while. But lately, I'd say for about a month and a half, it seems like every at-bat's a ground ball to either first or second. He leads the league, I believe, in ground balls to both of those positions. However, last few games, he has picked up some big hits. He's using the left side more. So if he's back, if he's legit back, it could definitely help out this offense. Juan Soto obviously been swinging the bat well. Judge is the DH tonight. He's been unconscious again. Austin Wells behind the dish. He has been raking and having great at-bats, taking pitches, working counts. Jazz Chisholm, 2 home runs last night. Gleyber Torres, not a second baseman, even though he thinks he is. Ben Rice, first base, he went deep last night. Anthony Volpe at short, he's been heating up a little bit, low-key. Trent Grisham back out there in center, and Will Warren on the mound, wearing number 98. 98, that's a tough number to wear. Does not get a lot of respect there. Andy Batista says, why didn't Boone put Cabrera at second base instead of Gleyber, who keeps making bonehead plays? Well, Gleyber is a better player than Oswaldo. I mean, you look at the numbers. Gleyber's, got more power, and that's what the Yankees like. They like the power. And maybe you look at the WAR and all that stuff. Gleyber Torres is better than Oswaldo, but I'm sure a lot of you would probably disagree. Let me pull up. I want to look up what Oswaldo's baseball reference numbers are this year and see how he ranks in WAR. Hang on just a second. All right, Oswaldo Cabrera got a 0.8 WAR, so that's higher than I thought it would be. Now let's check out Gleyber Torres. Gleyber Torres, baseball reference. 0.9, so it's marginally different. Gleyber with 10 home runs, and Oswaldo has 6 home runs. So Gleyber's got a little bit more power. Oswaldo's hitting for a higher average. The OPS plus for Oswaldo's 81, where it's 91 for Gleyber. So Gleyber's slightly better in terms of the numbers, so that's why. And that's just basically why. But apparently Cashman refusing to trade George Lombard, which is interesting because they do have some good infield prospects. They've got the number 1 international prospect from a few years back, Roderick Arias, switch hitter. Not having a great year in the minor leagues, but definitely power potential, good at bats, patient hitter. Only hitting about 234, but the scouts think it's for real. He was getting compared to Wander Franco back before Wander Franco became a POS. And now, you don't hear those comparisons anymore, thank God. But, Lombard's a shortstop. He's young. He's 18. We saw him hit a couple of home runs in spring training, which was impressive. He's got good opposite field power. I wouldn't be afraid to trade him. I mean, if you can get something that can help you win the World Series this year. I mean, this is a real chance that the Yankees have this year. You can't be super tentative. All right, so let's go back and check how Twitter's looking, and I'll let you guys know if there's anything worth mentioning here. So we pull up the chat. So Max Goodman says, less than 20 minutes to go. Yankees' big acquisitions so far are Jazz Chisholm and Mark Leiter, and we got Luke Garrison here commenting that Cashman asleep on the job. Internet's undefeated. I love it. All right, let's take some comments in the chat here. Let's see. The New York Gamer says, same shit with Cashman. Always scared to make those moves that are going to put us in the World Series. Do you think the Cubs rethink the Chapman trade? We don't know that he's scared to make the moves yet, but I definitely wouldn't let, George Lombard stop you from getting, Jack Flaherty or something like that. Or from, maybe a Tariq Skubal if he were available, or even a Garrett Crochet. At a certain point, you have to just say, all right, our prospects have gotten us so far, right? We've added Volpe, we've added Wells, we've got Dominguez. They've added to our major league talent. We've got Luis Gil. That's a pretty nice group of prospects that have become big league players. There's some real value there. And then you got to look at what you have left and what you need. and say, what can we use that is not going to help us from the minor leagues this year to help us get a championship? That's how you have to look at it. Eloy Jimenez to the Orioles. Orioles have been pretty active. Let's take a look at Eloy Jimenez's numbers here. Eloy was with the White Sox. I'm surprised the White Sox haven't made more deals. So Eloy not having a great year, negative 0.7, negative 0.7 WAR, 240 average, 5 home runs, 16 RBIs, 297 on base percentage. Sounds like a Yankee. 81 OPS plus. And we are now 15 minutes from the deadline as the clock begins to tick. If I had thought of it ahead of time, I would have made like some kind of an anxious clock ticking down music to play, but I didn't think about it until just now, so we'll put it on next year's list. Requinick says, Eloy's bad and made of glass. Nathaniel Holden says, George Lombar's ceiling is a fringe all-star, more likely to be a good everyday player. And that's probably why the Yankees don't want to trade him, because it's not easy to find a good everyday player. But it's also not easy to find an ace, for a playoff run. And right now, Jack Flaherty's pitching like an ace. So if you have to include him, you include him. We still got spots for 2 moves here on this right-hand side. I don't know if they're going to make 2 moves, but I hope so. That's why I left spots for it. Anyway. Yankster48 says, Cashman always keeping his prospects until they become worthless.
I wholeheartedly agree.
D's channel says, can we make a big splash trade, or I think they're still working. I don't think that they're done. They like to pull the trigger at the very last second. So let's just hang on. Let's not get Ajita, or however you pronounce it. I might have put the emphasis on the wrong syllable. But I'm constantly refreshing this feed to keep an eye on what we've got going on. Nothing so far for the Yankees since the Mark Leiter deal. Jazz Chisholm was a nice move. I'm liking what he's adding so far. I've been impressed with how smooth he is at third base. His hands are really, really good. Not only picking the bad hop yesterday, but turning the double play. He should have turned 2 double plays, if not for our second baseman, Gleyber Torres, throwing one of them away. To be fair, though, the runner was coming down on him and kind of kicked at him. Girardi brought up a great point that Aaron Boone should have challenged that. Just more evidence that Girardi belongs in a major league dugout. I've always been a Girardi fan. I like him as a manager. Apparently, he was too tough on guys, but especially Gary Sanchez. But what happened when he left? Gary Sanchez went to hell. Sometimes you got to be tough on guys. These guys have coaches and stuff that are tough on them all the way up, all the way into the major leagues. And then if the manager becomes their best friend, maybe they let their foot off the gas a little bit. They get a little bit, complacent. And some guys, I think, just need that kick in the ass. And I think Gleyber Torres is definitely one of them, but I think Gary Sanchez was one of them also. Yankster says Al has to send to the Saudis. Look, I don't know if the Saudis play baseball over there. I don't know if I don't think that there's baseball out there, but I would rather he sold to like an American hedge fund. It's New York City. Are you telling me there's not a hedge fund out there with like billions and billions and billions of dollars in assets under management that can get their their buyers, their clients to be all in on owning the New York frickin' Yankees? You telling me you can't make that happen? I'm sure Hal could get an enormous amount of money. Hal could get more money for the New York Yankees than any owner has ever gotten for any team. No one in the Steinbrenner bloodline probably already ever has to work again. But now, like their neighbors and their kids and their friends, you could sell the team for probably $6 or $7 billion to a hedge fund. To a hedge fund with like $500 billion in assets under management. Come on, you could definitely make that move. But yeah, probably not going to sell it to the Howdies. Leo says, do you see us getting a deal done before the deadline? I do. I think there's deals coming. I think there's at least one coming. I think they're going to get a starting pitcher, and I think they might make 2 deals if they get a starting pitcher. I think they'll move Nestor Cortes. They probably already have the Nestor Cortes deal made, and then if another deal happens, in the next few minutes, then you're going to see kind of like a couple of deals take place right after. In fact, if I'm Brian Cashman, I'm saying, look, I got to pull the trigger on a series of moves. Let us know by about 5:50 if this thing is going down. So there might be phone calls happening right now that we'll be hearing about in a few minutes. Gregory Wayne says, Torres has no trade value, so not surprised he stays. He does have upside offensively. He's been swinging the bat a little bit better. But, man, I'm telling you, if he boots a ground ball or blows a double play in a crucial spot in the ALCS and it costs the Yankees, a chance at the World Series, I mean, that's on Cashman. Chase Zerwoski says Jackson Holliday was scratched from the AAA lineup tonight for the Baltimore Orioles. That makes sense. If they're going to include him in a deal, that's wild. They could be moving on something big. Now, keep an eye on Twitter accounts from like Jack Curry. I know they're on Yes right now, but he still tweets. Jeff Passan, obviously great at breaking news. Max Goodman, friend of the show. Ken Rosenthal. All these guys are on the phones right now trying to figure out what deals are going to happen. And it's the final countdown, baby. We got 9 minutes. I wish I had some music. Why don't I play some music here? I'm sure I got something that we can play as we count down. I'll turn it down a little bit. All right. Mythic Monty says Cashman does not have the stones to go all in. We'll see. Somebody's upset about Jimenez to Baltimore. He apparently is very fragile, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Yankees optioned Yoendris Gomez to AAA for tonight's game. I've been really impressed by Gomez. He has thrown the ball well in relief, and he's making room for Will Warren. 8 minutes now to the deadline. This is wild. This reminds me of when Corey Kluber was working on that no-hitter, and we were counting down the outs. I did a watch party that night, and he just happened to throw a no-hitter, and we were counting down the outs. 9 outs, 8 outs. Holler in the chat if you were part of that. I'm sure somebody, we got over 1,300 in the chat right now. I'm sure somebody was in there. David Smith says, I've always wondered what that track was called. So this track is called The High Line. It's part of the YouTube audio library. As a content creator, you have access to a number of songs for your work that are royalty free, that are free to use. And so this one is called The High Line. It's also used by the mobster guy, the ex-mobster guy, Mike something, Franzi or whatever. And I added just some like clips of John Sterling and Gary Thorne with the Hang On to the Roof and a few other things to it. So it's kind of like a remix. So I'm just now getting the alert on my phone for Eloy Jimenez to the O's. We're going to pull the feed back up. Nothing yet. We are now 7 minutes to the deadline. Nick Cannon was there for the... Are you the Nick Cannon, the one with all those kids who used to date Mariah Carey? Nate Saxophone says Garrett Crochet will not be traded. Is that news? I haven't seen that yet. I've got the Twitter feed, but I don't have any White Sox beat writers or anything right now. So there's a chance that the Yankees might already be done making moves. But we got 6 minutes now. 6 minutes to go. All right. Mitch Z says, what happened to Chad Green? He could still be moved. I mean, that could be something that happens at the last second. A lot of teams are looking for arms. A lot of teams still looking for arms. I'm starting to get anxious, guys. The ticker's going. Tick, 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 tick. Bronx Yankee says, Cole is bottom 8 in MLB barrel rate. Philly would murder him. Makes sense to give him a day off then. I mean, makes sense. Look, he said it's general soreness, general fatigue, and I believe that. he rushed his way back through the minor leagues. He probably should have made one more, maybe even two more rehab starts because his first two starts were not good. But the last few times he's been great, but he's been pitching deep into the game in the heat. Last time out he wasn't good, but the two or three times before that he was much better. Last time it was a clunker against the Mets. So it makes sense that he's just a little bit worn out. So Yanks get De Los Santos. I don't know who that is. Let me see. The Rays are not going to be trading Yandy Diaz, but the Yankees had interest. I haven't seen anything on De Los Santos yet. So Mark Feinsand reporting that Yandy Diaz will stay with the Tampa Bay Rays. Okay, so he comes off the board. No big deal. No big deal. We don't need him. We have our third baseman in Jazz Chisholm. I'm fine with Jazz Chisholm at third base. As I was saying, very smooth over there last night. 4 minutes to the deadline. 4 minutes to the deadline. Doug Rouse says he's going to miss tonight's game with mental fatigue due to Brian Cashman being our GM.
I'll be over here like winning.
Jack Flaherty to the Los Angeles Dodgers. This is breaking news. Jeff Passan breaking it. Yankees were interested. Jack Flaherty has been traded to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Dodgers have needed some pitching. They already lost Yamamoto. They've had some injury issues with Clayton Kershaw. Walker Buehler's been up and down. And now they are getting a certified ace. No word yet on who's going there in return. This is disappointing. I was very interested in Jack Flaherty. That is a bummer. That sucks. The Yankees have now acquired Padres relief pitcher Enyel De Los Santos, 4.46 ERA and 40 and a third innings pitched. Let's take a look at him on Baseball Savant. Hang on just a second. And I'm sure there's going to be more moves trickling in. Take a look at De Los Santos. You see he's another swing and miss guy. Strikeout percentage and whiff percentage, both elite. Fastball velo is good. It's 96. This feels like an interesting move to me. 48 strikeouts and 40 in the third innings. You wonder whose spot in the rotation or in the bullpen he will take. He doesn't keep the ball on the ground very well, and he gets hit hard. But throws strikes, above average in walk percentage. Interesting move. This might be one of those guys that the Yankees see something in. How many times have we seen the Yankees trade for somebody and they become great right away? 2 minutes into the deadline, and just a reminder that moves can still happen after the deadline. They can still be announced, maybe 10 minutes later. So I'm going to pull up the Twitter feed again, and we're going to just keep refreshing for a few minutes here. And hopefully we get some more news breaking. Jack Flaherty to the Dodgers is a tough one. I really wanted Jack Flaherty. Dodgers also acquired Kevin Kiermaier from the Blue Jays. So they're shoring up their pitching and their outfield. Interesting. Dodgers going for it. Padres definitely going for it. They traded, I believe, like 10 of their top 15 prospects or something since the offseason. They got Luis Ariz. They went and got Jason Adam, now Tanner Scott. They got a deadly bullpen. Deadly bullpen. Going to refresh here and see if there's anything else new. Nothing yet. Nothing yet. Now just 1 minute to the deadline. Peter says, trade Cashman.
I wholeheartedly agree.
Also, we traded Caleb Ferguson to the Astros for a prospect named Kelly Austin, right-handed pitcher, and some international bonus pool money. Now, we do have 2 more spots left here in my right-hand column for for moves, but it's not looking good. 5:59, the official time. William Estradas has launched Cashman into the Atlantic. Come on, Brian. Do something. You ever seen that meme where it's like a cartoon character poking a stick at something and he's like, do something? That's what I'm feeling like right now. Do something. And Yel De Los Santos? I mean, I'm sure he's nice, but come on. We can do better. Dodgers. Getting Flaherty stings. That stings. Although it could raise the price here for Nestor Cortez. And it is now 6 o'clock. We have reached the deadline. So let's see if there has been any moves that filter in. So I'm going to stay on for probably 10 minutes and we can talk about stuff. But again, if you're just joining us, just recap what we went over earlier. Yankees picked up Mark Leiter. He's a good swing and miss guy. Sinker and split-fingered fastball are his best pitches. I think the Yankees are going to take the sweeper away from him completely and just have him throw those two pitches, and that should make him even more effective. They also signed Brett Phillips, who was a position player. They signed him as a pitcher. He's going to the minor leagues. No word yet on whether he's going to open up at single A, double A, triple A. My guess is they're going to, since he's a veteran, I think he's 33 years old, they're going to try him probably right at double A or triple A as a pitcher and just see if he gets smoked. And then Caleb Ferguson to the Astros for a prospect and international bonus pool money. Stormer saying it doesn't seem like the Dodgers gave up much for Flaherty. That's going to have me livid. At least Flaherty didn't go to the Orioles, says Paulie1286, and I 100% agree. Orioles didn't do a ton. The Tampa Bay Rays are acquiring Dylan Carlson. I'm not sure what for, but the Rays made a lot of moves. They traded Randy Arozarena to Seattle. I'm surprised they hung on to Yandy Diaz. There's a lot of people out there that could use his bat. So we're not seeing anything else breaking. Cardinals are getting right-handed reliever Sean Armstrong from the Rays for Dylan Carlson. Still refreshing. No Garrett Crochet, notably. No Tariq Skubal yet. Nice tweet here from Max Goodman. Like Mark Leiter Jr., Yel De Los Santos gives the Yankees swing and miss stuff in the bullpen. The right-hander has a 32.5 whiff rate and 28.2 strikeout rate this season. He'll need to limit hard contact, though. De Los Santos is in the first percentile in barrel rate. So, Max, always with the great information. And we're going to hang in here for a little bit and see if any moves trickle in. Gleyber Torres, apparently still with the Yankees. And Nestor Cortez, still with the Yankees. We'll see. Stick around. BJ02 says, Lorenzo and Trey Sweeney for Flaherty. Interesting. They turned Trey Sweeney into Flaherty. That's interesting. Rick Diaz says, F the Dodgers. Well, nothing seems to be trickling at the moment, but stand by, because it does happen sometimes. I remember we found out about the Jordan Montgomery deal about 10 minutes after the deadline. So we'll stay on until about 6:10, 6:15, see what the general thought is, and then we will disband. Tonight, Yankees take on the Phillies. It'll be Will Warren's Major League debut. Jazz Chisholm, I almost did it wrong again, back in there at third base. Gleyber Torres in the lineup as of right now. So, anyway. Yankee Gaming says, Shohei Ohtani will not be traded. He's obviously trolling. There was no rumors ever that Shohei Ohtani would be traded. Stop being an idiot. Janice Hobbs says, guess Jazz can be the new full-time third baseman. I can dig it. All-Star Luis Garcia to Boston. So Boston making some moves. I thought there would be more moves, man. There was a lot of moves over the last few days. I thought that last hour of the deadline was going to be crazy. But nothing yet. So, hey, we're setting a new record here on NYY Recaps for the most we've ever had on at the same time. 1,808 watching live. So, hell yeah. WLBWS says, what do you think about Paul Skeens or Spencer Jones? That would never happen. Paul Skeens is already probably one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball, and Spencer Jones is a guy who's struggling not to strike out 40% of the time in Double-A. Let's stop overhyping our prospects. He's not that good. He's got a lot of physical tools, but he doesn't hit. So, Jason Custodio says, another lackluster trade deadline. Way to show Soto you're all in. Well, I guess we got to wait. I mean, I'm not ready to say that yet. I want to see if anything else rolls in. But I'm happy with Jazz Chisholm. I think the Mark Leiter move is good. I want to see what De Los Santos looks like. I've never seen him pitch. But, no big names. We didn't get a Garrett Crochet. We didn't get a Tariq Skubal. We didn't get a Jack Flaherty. That would have been nice. People already calling for Cashman's head. Unbelievable. Well, it's actually totally believable. Got a super chat here from JXV88. Says, Brett Phillips will close the World Series for us. I like it. Optimism, baby. Optimism. RD says, I know everyone is complaining, but we also have no clue what other teams were asking for. Exactly. I mean, if the Dodgers were asking for Dominguez for Flaherty, I wouldn't have done that either. I would have gone Spencer Jones for Flaherty. I know it's a rental. I would have made that deal. The longer that Spencer Jones goes without fixing his strikeout rate, it concerns me. It's higher than Judge's ever was in the minor leagues. It's high, and I've been keeping a close eye on it recently. Beast Mode says, no moves and punt tonight's game. Warren, I don't think tonight is a punt. I really don't think so. You can't call it a punt when the kid... Oh, my God. I just got a text. This is funny. Brett, my buddy Brett, he's been on the podcast a few times. He's the Padres fan who I said reacted to the Tanner Scott trade. He says, wow, we traded you Enyel De Los Meatballs? Oh, great.
It's what it is.
What it is. It's what it is. What it is. It's what it is.
Not what you want to hear. If the guy's got meatballs in his nickname, that's tough. Dean Gonzalez says, this is like Christmas as a kid, and the gifts were books. Thank you, but they're free at the library. Not a reader, I guess. Craig M says, how much of this is on Hal as well? I mean, you guys are acting like it's a total failure. We got Jazz Chisholm. I mean, that's a nice pickup. That's going to help the team out. Mark Leiter, I think, could be good. 11 home runs in 40 innings this year for De Los Santos. Yikes. So, I'm going to refresh one more time. We're about 8 minutes past the deadline. And no new moves here that we're seeing. So, looks like, at least as of this point, there are no more trades coming in. I'll stay on for another few minutes, and then we'll wrap it up. But we needed more, I think. We at least got some strikeout stuff that I think the Yankees... Look, they're looking at this at a level, and they're pretty good at picking up relievers. You have to admit. They're good at picking up a lot of relief pitchers. Like Tonkin was a great pickup. Luke Weaver, Clay Holmes, when they got him, he was a nobody. This year he was an all-star. They're looking at this in a way that we might not be. They're looking at the shape of specific pitches and thinking about, all right, how will we use this guy? How will we transform them to unlock them even further? And that's the type of move that they're trying to make. They'd much rather get a bargain than some overpaid guy. 100%. But if that's all the moves that we make, yes, it's a little disappointing. But there's not a big bopper out there that we really could have got. Would have liked maybe Matt Chapman for third base and then Jazz to second and then trade Glaber. That would have been a nice, sequence of events. Looks like they're hanging on to Nestor Cortez. And we're not seeing anything else. By the way, Aaron Judge, I posted this earlier on Twitter and it's gotten some interest. I feel like he dislikes Brian Cashman. Don't you get that feeling? because the negotiations ultimately had to end up in Hal's hands because Cashman wasn't getting it done for his new contract. And then Judge complains to Cashman, hey, we need to focus on some other stats. We need to get some more guys who hit for average, who drive in runs, things like that. And Cashman seemed to fire back on that a little bit at the GM meetings when he was given his feisty press conference. And then yesterday, might have been the day, I think it was yesterday, Aaron Judge says, well, it's nice to see other teams making moves. Maybe we can make some moves, basically. I'm paraphrasing, but he basically made it sound like, all right, where are you? Wake up. Wake up, Brian. And so I just get the feeling like he doesn't like Brian Cashman. I don't know. Musique Man says, let's be honest here, Cashman dropped the ball once again. We'll see. Mark Canna to the Giants. But you're the same guy who said that Shohei wouldn't be traded. Can we believe anything you say? Philly's got Tanner Banks from the White Sox. So stuff is starting to filter in here. I'm going to check one more time. So Tariq Skubal, Blake Snell, and Garrett Crochet all staying with their clubs at the deadline, so none of those guys will be traded. We are now 11 minutes past the deadline. I think that's it. I think that's all we're going to see from the Yankees. So let me know in the chat, in the comments, how you guys feel about the deadline. I'm sensing some disappointment, some overall disappointment. Would have liked to have picked up a Garrett Crochet, possibly. Would have liked to have picked up another bat. But at least the team is hitting a little bit better again. And don't forget, we got Jason Dominguez. If somebody goes down again, at least this time Jason can fill in as long as he doesn't get hurt again. And he's going to be a monster. We got Stanton back. He is not in the lineup tonight. They're easing him back in because he didn't have a rehab start. So I do like trading Caleb Ferguson to the Astros. Addition by subtraction. You're actually hurting the Astros by giving him that guy. So the kind of trade is apparently real. No move for Gleyber Torres. He will remain the Yankees' second baseman. He is a free agent after the season. And almost no way the Yankees will re-sign him. Zero. I would give that a 0% chance. He's lost the fan base because he can't play defense, he doesn't hustle, and he's got a bad baseball IQ. He can hit a little bit. He's been hitting better lately. I still would have moved him. Yankster48 says, Cashman loves to keep his prospects until they reach the scrub level. What the hell happened to Oswald Peraza? He was their number one prospect 2 years ago. Right now he's hitting 234 in AAA because they screwed with his stance and his leg kick and all that stuff. Never really got a chance in the major leagues. I would have liked to have seen them move him for something while he still had value. Felix Baldomaro says, we have a better team than we're giving Cashman credit for. We're one game out of first. Other than DJ and Rizzo, we just need to play better. We do need to play better. And it is a good team. Bullpen was thin. We addressed that. We got some arms. I think Mark Leiter is going to help. De Los Santos, we'll see. But you needed one more bat, I think. You know? Maybe they're counting on Gleyber becoming that guy at second base again and hitting. The upside is there. But a lot of people upset with Cashman in the in the chat. So coming up tonight, we got the Yankees versus the Phillies at 6:40, and then coming up after the game, we got a post-game recap. I'm going to have Aiden back on to talk about some of these guys we traded for. He'll be with me tomorrow too, and then Friday we got TK coming back. So. You know, mixing in more talent here the second half as we go through the dog days of summer and give you guys some longer episodes and things like that. Also, we're putting out clips from every episode after the episode now. So the podcast comes on. We'll take one of our main topics that we talk about. We'll put it back out there. In case you're pressed for time, don't have 30 minutes. We'll take basically the most important non-game subjects we talk about and put it back out there. We're getting more shorts up. So we're growing. So go ahead and hit that like and subscribe as we climb towards 50,000. We want to get there hopefully by the end of the season. Probably going to be close. It's going to be tough, but we'll see how the Yankees do. Would have been better. Probably would have gained more if the Yankees actually made some bigger moves at the deadline. But, you know, it is what it is, as we always say. So tune in after the game, and I'll see you then.
Ball game on.